AEW Dynamite is in the bag. We are nearly there, days away from AEW All In London, and we are all in the venue for Revolution Radio. What's up, people? My name is Mekz, the WrestleManiac, if you will, reporting here for Revolution Radio duty alongside my co-host.
Yo, people, it's your boy NK, aka the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, aka the Hood Japanese correspondent, aka the CEO, the president, the commissioner, the TDM, Tokyo Dome merchants. I had to give the full intro because this is a special episode, and the full intro had to come out, man.
TDM are in the building today. We've got a very special guest, long time follower, supporter, brother to the channel. Gareth is in the building. What's up, Gareth?
I'm good. I should have prepared myself an intro because you've all got one. I should have thought of that, but I didn't think of that. But I'm a proud Tokyo Dome member under the leadership of NK, of course.
Original member. Member, the TDM. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So bitter that I'm shitter. Can I swear I didn't even ask?
Of course you can.
Yeah. I was like. Yeah, you always get sandbags.
Look at them. They're all coming out the woodwork today. AJ in the chat, TDM. It's like a reunion tour.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Will Ospreay on Dynamite, so that's he's a Tokyo Dome merchant as well.
Exactly.
That's true. And, just on the subject of Dynamite, I genuinely thought one of the better go-home shows they've done. I think as wrestling fans, we always tend to complain and want more. But I just feel like in terms of something that gets you to the pay-per-view, the excitement of the pay-per-view, and maybe for us, because a lot of us, are actually going to be in attendance, I just really thought this show done it for me, like in terms of that last bit of excitement. Even things that you might have been on the fence about, like, okay, I don't mind this match. They just really gave it the extra 50%, 70% to push it. What did you guys think of Dynamite last night?
But let Gareth go.
Well, yeah, I thought it was a good show. Like you said, often with an AEW pay-per-view, the build will be pretty good, but then that go-home show would just be like, oh, that was all right, kind of thing. Whereas I think, obviously, it's a very touchy subject on Twitter, but for me anyway, the build's been very lackluster. But then this show was actually, I went into this like genuinely thinking I'm less hyped now than I was 6 weeks ago when there was no matches announced. Even though I know that the event will be great, I knew that 6 weeks ago anyway because I knew like they're not going to like completely let us down. So I knew that anyway. So I knew I was going to go to a great event. But after the show, it just got me hyped about some of those matches that I was a little bit like, this is all right. I'm a little bit more hyped now, and it's not like as hyped as I wish I was. But I know come the day. I mean, it's not even about that. Like the first show that they're doing over here, they could have wheeled out what's his name, Luther. I would have been there. No offense to Luther, he's a legend. He's a legend.
NK, how do you feel about Dynamite?
Yeah, I'm going to echo basically the same sentiments. I feel like this Dynamite kind of sold me on stuff that I was either lukewarm on. I liked this Dynamite. I feel like there was obviously no show's perfect, and there were definitely some points in this Dynamite I was like, and there were some matches that were added to the card that I was like, I'm talking about they claimed, but we'll get to that. But overall, like, I thought it was a really good go home show, and now I'm just like, I'm ready. Like, get me to Sunday. I want to be in that building. I want to feel the energy. This is going to be like the biggest wrestling show I've ever attended. So, and it's going to be my first time seeing wrestlers I'd watched for years, like Kenny Omega. I'd seen these men through fucking laptop screens, and then now I'm going to see them, in a building full of 80,000 people. Who would have thought? So bring it on.
Yeah, it's going to be something Sunday, definitely. Just on that, I guess we've spoken in general about All In and how I feel like for those that are going to listen to the wrestling podcast tomorrow, you're going to hear almost me and NK doing a bit of a defensive job where we were saying it's a pay-per-view quality card, but it's not a Wembley quality card. I think me and you were saying, NK.
Yeah.
Gareth, what's your thoughts on that and what looks like the final card of this looks like?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. Like when they announced Wembley, I think everyone, some AEW fans have kind of backtracked and been like, no, we've all been fancy booking this trios match with Kenny Omega. Like, nobody was fancy booking that, and I'm not like completely mad about it. I just wish the build for it was better, but because him teaming with those two is like, especially both of them together and then Kenny, that is cool. But I just wish the build was better. But like you say, it's a pay-per-view card. I still think they've put on a lot of pay-per-views with a much stronger card. But with it being Wembley, I think they're going to go all out, and I think it will be one of their better shows. No pun intended on the all out. Yeah, I think it will kind of over-deliver on what people's expectations are, just at least on the base card. But the card itself, like, I think it's like a 7, maybe an 8 when people were expecting like a 10, maybe an 11. If that's, which again, wrestling fans get overexcited, but especially AEW ones at times. But I really think it was valid to get overexcited because they were running a stadium which they had never done and may never do again. So I think they should have gone more in on it for me, I think.
Yeah, we were saying last week that because last week felt like that's when the majority of the card got put together, that TK didn't promise us all these dream matches we thought we were going to get. This is what they've planned, and it's wrestling fans that have done it to themselves. But we'll come back to All In. We'll talk about predictions and the builds to some of the matches on the card and new matches, like NK said, that have been added since. But yeah, we'll talk about Dynamite, which obviously leads into this as the go home show. Opened up with obviously a piece in memory of Terry Funk, which of course, rest in peace. We found out as we were recording last night, the podcast, that he had passed away. Hardcore legend, literally icon. So yeah, rest in peace to Terry Funk. The show opened up with the Elite. Loved it. It feels like it's been some weeks since we've seen that good old entrance. They were to-face Bullet Club Gold. No match took place here, just a straight scrap from the beginning. I can't remember like all the necessary like the beats of it, but it was Jay White and the guys that were supposed to be in the match, so the Guns and Juice Robinson versus Omega and the Young Bucks. I guess to kind of get to it, it was kind of punctuated. FTR came out eventually to support the Elite. I guess ultimately to make sure that the Young Bucks get to Sunday. And then we had a sit down later on in the night, which we'll talk about, between FTR and the Young Bucks. And then Takeshita came around and, Takeshita and Kenny went at it, which I guess, leads into what we could possibly get, which we were talking about last week, between these two at Maybe All Out. Kenny Omega was the only man left in the ring, left standing tall after Takeshita escaped from a one-winged angel attempt. Just pure chaos to kind of open the show. My kind of opening. Gareth, I'll throw it to you. What did you think about this segment?
Yeah, I liked it. I was a bit taken aback when like Juice Robinson's there, like knocking out the referee and stuff. I was like, it's like, because are they gonna is he gonna get suspended now and not gonna be able to wrestle? Like, is this another way they're writing someone out of the show because there's visa issues and all that? I was like confused and a little bit like lost because I was kind of looking forward to watching him because he's kind of one of those guys who's got over in those recent months. But I think they're just going to ignore that. So fair enough. So I was a little bit like taken aback from that, but because I was just expecting the straight up match. But I guess that's a good thing. That was their aim to kind of like to throw a curveball in there and do something a bit more extreme in this situation. So yeah, I was a fan of like the action. I was just a bit like confused when watching it because I was like, again, just like I knew there were reports that they were going to be writing some people out on this show, obviously Ray Phoenix and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure if that was going to be one of them. But yeah, no, it was good, and like I kind of like that when FTR came down. because they're doing this whole story with those guys as like this respectful, this is a legacy match, like, and they're not doing that rah wrestling kind of stuff. Although, you know, Dax had to get in a bit about his family later on, but we'll get onto that. Yeah, so I like that side of things. I like that approach, even though I wish we'd seen a little bit more from FTR and the Young Bucks in the build-up. I think this tonight was a really good example and definitely got me more excited for one of the matches I was most excited for already. But yeah, I thought it was good. And then those little teasers we had with Takeshita and Omega as well was like nice. Obviously, it just made me want the singles match. But ultimately, we're still going to get like, you know, significant exchanges with them in the ring come Sunday, and then presumably whether it's All Out or maybe they push it out to Grand Slam or whatever it is, it will be good. So when that happens, but it's just a shame, I guess, that we're not getting it. But there we go.
Yeah. NK, do you think it will be Omega Takeshita at All Out in a week's time?
I would assume so, but there's been times where like Tony Khan has left money on the table. For example, like I harken back even to this year, House of Black versus the Elite. We barely got any. There were so many singles matches exchanges that we could have gotten, and we didn't. Like the whole Buddy Murphy versus Kenny Omega thing. Like, you could have done that on a Dynamite easily. Malachi Black versus Nick Jackson or whatever. Like so, but I think obviously this is a story. But in defense of Tony Khan, that wasn't really a story thing. It was just more so of like, okay, these are two trios teams where Takeshita and Omega have had a storyline. With Don Callis, so it'd be very strange. It'd be flat disappointing and a waste of time if you don't get a singles match. So I think All Out's the place to do it, and I feel like because of there's only like a week till All Out. It's a feud that already's been built up over time, so you don't need to necessarily throw ideas to the wall on how to build to a match. Just say it's an extension of the match that they had in All In and take it to All Out. So yeah, I do expect a singles match at All Out in Chicago. I wish we were getting it though. I wish we were the ones getting this match.
Yeah, I think you were saying last week, it should be the other way around, the singles match now and then the trios match next week. But yeah, I think we're definitely going in that direction. But yeah, that's you know, like I said, we'll talk about the Young Bucks FTR segment later on. But this will still obviously push forward the trios match. So then following this, we had a sit-down section with MJF and Renee Paquette. This is one of the two sit-downs that she done on the night, other one with Adam Cole. This one was very kind of jovial and high spirits, which is, I guess, what has become of MJF in recent weeks. You know, I guess he claims to still be our scumbag, but the attitude and everything is still very different, you know, really pandering to the British crowd, saying he's gonna buy them pints and everything like that.
Calling us all chav.
Yeah, like it's you know, it's MJF as a baby face, but still MJF at the core, which is good to see. Like they've kind of found the balance of how to do that. And like I say, this was super jovial compared to, I guess, what transpired in the Adam Cole one, which I guess you know, we'll just talk about that now as these two segments together. Where the Adam Cole one was pretty much, he has been catched, as we would say, in terms of Renee pulling up footage of him having second thoughts, maybe going for attacks on MJF and opting not to, and really questioning his friendship with MJF. Adam Cole was irate. Stood up, said, I don't know how people don't understand. The friendship is fine. This is how friendships work, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he really wasn't happy and stormed out of the interview. Gareth, what do you think of the two segments of how they've kind of juxtaposed from each other? Yeah. Like, I almost feel like MJF is turning into what Adam Cole was, and Adam Cole is turning into MJF. What did you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think like you couldn't do this with anyone, I don't think. I think the fact that Adam Cole has a long history of being a heel and we've seen that he's done stuff like this makes it more believable that his character would have these second thoughts of like, well, this is how I won a title before. So, and he stabbed friends in the back as well. So it's not something that's like above Adam Cole, you know. Before his injury, the last thing we saw from him was him beating the crap out of the Elite. Like, and then like, obviously they dropped that one because it's like, well, you know, Adam Cole's a babyface coming back from this injury. But like, but like Adam's got these things, so it's definitely something you couldn't do with everyone. It's an interesting thing because it's like they're going into this match and it's like will they, won't they, will someone turn, and then on top of that it's which one of them will turn. I don't know what my prediction is, but what I'm feeling in my gut is that is that Cole is being so much on the surface, and when someone's showing their emotions on the surface, it means they're not trying to hide something. It means that they're being genuine. Whereas when someone is like, very much being much more subtle and catching themselves, that is something where it's like, okay, that is in you, but you're really trying not to show it, which makes me think that MGF is going to turn. I always come back to that thing of like, the greatest thing that the devil ever did was convince you that he doesn't exist. And that's like, is this all a game from MGF as like convincing Adam Cole and, weakening him mentally? Because, if Adam Cole hates MGF, he's going to be at his best. Whereas if they kind of like each other, he might struggle in certain moments where it's like, if he has a chance to cheat, he won't because he wants to do it properly. Or he just might not go full in on it. And then at the end of the night, MGF cheats, and then we see the real MGF. Is that what it's going to be? Or are we going to get a babyface MGF run going from here? And I genuinely don't know which one I want more, because I want babyface MGF. I don't really want to heel Adam Cole again. So okay. I'm kind of looking at it and like, maybe if they win the tag titles, they can just drag this out a bit longer. Is kind of what I'm hoping. But yeah, I think it was very interesting. It's really interesting the way they've done it. But I think generally, and I try not to apply too much storytelling logic to wrestling anymore, because like they just don't use a lot of the logic that you would see in like actual storytelling, which is annoying. But there you go. But in that, like if someone was like really showing, oh yeah, it looks like it's kind of like, that's too obvious that he would turn. I'm talking about Adam Cole because he's showing too much. So yeah, I don't think he'll turn. But it's one of those things where again, I don't know where to play the logic, because wrestling, they just do what they want. Like there's another thing on this show where it's just like I don't know what the logic was in it, and we'll get onto that because I'm angry.
We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, but yeah, so but it's definitely interesting. It's just like it's one where they could go a direction. This could be great, and I think they could go any direction, and it could be great with the right execution. But I think they could easily really screw it up as well. And yeah, so I'm just hoping that it all goes well, basically. But I thought it was certainly something to hook you in. Like it was just that last little bit I needed on this story to be like, where's each one at? And later on, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but later on, obviously MGF teases with the ring as well, as just a final reminder of like, oh no, MGF still does have this in his head as well. So yeah, it was intriguing. I think that's the best way I can sum it up.
NK, what did you think?
Yeah, I think with this storyline, I feel like I said this on WRESTHINGS, but I feel like this is like one of the few times I think when it comes to AEW title reigns, you've always been able to like predict, okay, who's the natural foil to the champion, who's going to be the person to dethrone the champion. With Jericho, Moxley, we saw that, and then Kenny Omega, while that was unexpected, we can kind of see the trajectory of, okay, cool, Kenny Omega won the tournament, then he faced John Moxley. The way he won it wasn't expected, and obviously we saw Adam Cole. We knew Adam Cole was going to dethrone Kenny Omega. CM Punk was a little bit different, but his reign didn't last too long. But with this, it's genuinely, with MJF and Adam Cole, it's like, not only has the story been great, but we go into this match with genuine just drama and that tension about, okay, who's going to win. Like I feel like in this match, I'm going to buy into the near falls more than I've done in probably any other AEW title match. And then we add the story components to it, where it's like both of these characters are notorious like for betraying people. Adam Cole's had a long history of that, whether you go to NXT, whether you go to Ring of Honor. Heck, even when you go to AEW, he betrayed the Bucks early on. And the Elite early on. And then obviously MJF, you can harken back to people like Cody, Chris Jericho. Like MJF has proven time and time again he's untrustworthy. So what happens when two untrustworthy people form an alliance? It's almost like it's like I don't know, I keep using this meme as a reference, but it's like the Spider-Man meme where it's like they're both pointing at each other. It's like, okay, who's gonna pull the trigger first? I think, and maybe this is just because they've been very overt with it, I think I'm leaning towards Adam Cole turning, but that's just maybe because I've been enjoying MJF, this new dimension to MJF, where, you know, what I do like about a face turn is that he hasn't abandoned the characteristics that made him MJF. He's still MJF. He's just kind of pivoted. And it feels still very in line with who he is. Because sometimes when you do a heel or a face turn, like a lot of these wrestlers will go for like these dramatic departures in character where they're almost unrecognizable. And sometimes those can work, but oftentimes they feel like out of nowhere and kind of undeserved and disingenuous. But with MJF, like this slight pivot to, okay, like I'm a scumbag, but I'm a tolerable scumbag, you know, is interesting. I have no idea. I feel like adding the tag team match in the pre-show adds another layer of drama to this, because now we're not only rooting for them, because even going into the main event, like audience are going to be divided, but like at least in the beginning of the pre-show, most people are going to be united in the fact that, oh, we want this tag team to stay, and that's going to make the heartbreak of them breaking apart more painful. Overall, I have no idea. It's literally a flip of a coin at this point. I would want Adam Cole to win the AEW Championship just because I'm a huge fan of Adam Cole and it'd be like a nice cap on his career. But at the same time, with the work MJF has done with this title and this title run, I'm certainly not ready for it to end. So it's a tough situation.
We've got 30 minutes to think of our predictions because I'm hearing too many. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
30 minutes before we get to it. Let's get to some of the action. The actual first match on the show last night was Moxley versus Phoenix. We'll kind of just fly through this to the what happened afterwards. I thought in general the match was very good. Obviously the two different styles of the brawler in Moxley and the high flying abilities of Phoenix was really cool. The super Death Rider that didn't put him away even had me like, what's going on here, sort of thing. Because obviously at this point we knew Phoenix isn't even going to London. So yeah, I was thinking, what are they doing here? But then of course we had the rear naked choke, which put him away in the end. BCC has come to be recently, fly into the ring ASAP, laying the beating on him. Was it Claudio with the crowbar that basically took out Phoenix, and that's how they've kind of written him out of this. And then we saw is it Best Friends and who's their opponents? Eddie Kingston, and they started coming down to the ring. When all of a sudden Ortiz appears. Ortiz comes out and he's stopping Eddie Kingston, and obviously they've had previous before. Music hits, Santana appears, which I wasn't expecting at all. Last time I heard, these guys weren't even on like talking terms, as per Conan. Things had gone wrong with these guys, but it seems maybe they're possibly back on somewhat at the same page, and they attacked Eddie Kingston and that side of the team. And they're going to be part of the Blackpool Combat Club's team going into this Stadium Stampede match. So it's now 5-on-5. NK, what was your thoughts of seeing Santana back?
It was, do you know what? I kind of spoiled myself because I'd heard murmurings in the dirt sheets that
is it?
Basically, yeah, there was an independent show that wanted to book Santana on the weekend, and he had to cancel that booking because he had engagements with AEW. Oh, and then I thought, what's happened? Okay, he's at All In. I didn't know he'd be here. I thought he'd be, but I knew he'd be returning. But and this is kind of, I don't know if you want to say it's poetic, but they were in, I think, the first ever Stadium Stampede match, as a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society. I don't know if I want to nitpick. I don't know what their allegiances with Blackpool Combat Club are. Like, I don't know if I don't remember any of the members of Blackpool Combat Club.
I think it's a beef with the Ortiz and Eddie, because last time they were on screen, I think them two were beef. So fair. Maybe that's more what it is.
Yeah, easy to forget that because it was all on Rampage and very forgettable.
fair.
Probably the worst thing Eddie Kingston's done in AEW, but there we go.
That's true.
Yeah, but just seeing them back in the mix is cool. I'm not going to lie. Was I a little bummed out, especially when they turned to 5 versus 5? I was like, yeah, because I really wanted Shota, and I feel like from the match graphic, the original one, it looked like Shota's silhouette. So maybe that's just me again being a wrestling fan and working myself into a shoot, but it is what it is. But overall, I think we spoke about this in depth on the wrestling podcast that will come up on Friday, but I wonder how they are going to do this match, because Stadium Stampede was a concept that was kind of created out of the unfortunate circumstance of the pandemic. And obviously they retooled that into Anarchy in the Arena, but they very intentionally named this Stadium Stampede and not another Anarchy in the Arena match. So like, how is this match going to Wembley Stadium's a gargantuan stadium, so how do you do that with people? I don't know. Obviously it's not our job to like put the logistics, but like me, just being the wrestling fan I am, I'm always curious on, okay, how do you pull this off? I don't want to be, sitting in Wembley looking at a screen for like 40 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I want to I know there's going to be portions of this match that have to be on screen, but I think the more live action wrestling they can incorporate, the better. But it will just have to see. But overall, the return wasn't what I wanted, but it was, decent surprise.
The return wasn't necessarily what I wanted or what I thought was happen, but at the same time, I've even looked past this weekend, and I just thought, just for the sake of the tag division, it's good to have these guys back in, because it's kind of still surprising that in that initial run, of Proud and Powerful, whatever, they never won the tag titles.
They were botched, man.
Yeah, like within the
one of Tony Khan's biggest misses.
So I'm glad to see. I don't know. Gareth, do you actually think they're on talking terms though? Because I didn't really see any like hugging or interaction with them.
I did hear that like a couple months ago, like they had like smoothed things over to an extent. So is that they're going to be full on tag team partners again, or is it just that it's a convenient way to reintroduce both, and then maybe Santana, especially, like I think he's got a lot of potential as a singles guy. He's a really good promo, and I think he's like a good wrestler as well. I've not seen loads of singles matches with him, but like I think he's got potential for it. So maybe he wants to do that, but maybe they are back on talking terms, and it's just like, again, and they weren't talking loads there, but they were focused on what they were doing. The fact that they came out separately as well was a little bit interesting, but was that just because Santana's got a bit more of a proper return? But even then, like, just to see both of them together, I think would have still been special. So it was I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on that, but I heard that they were, so I'm hoping that it's all good, basically. And they were one of my favorite tag teams, so I'm really hoping if whoever like comes out of All In as tag team champions, that'd be a great match to have soon for the titles. Obviously, there's no rankings anymore, so they don't have to earn it, but they have to do a little something to earn it. You can't just get it straight away, although they probably will because Tony Khan. But I liked the surprise, but because I kind of like thought. I was really hoping for Shota, because I love him and Mox. It's just so good, and like the fact that they've done stuff together kind of recently is like, okay, well that's there as well. Obviously like G1 stuff as well with Kingston. So like there's a reason for him to kind of be on that team, and maybe that would have been the case if not for Rey Fenix not being there. But to be honest, in terms of like who it could have been, because I was like, I have no idea who they're going to put in this role. I have no idea. I was thinking, is it going to be someone who debuts? Is it going to be someone random who has like somewhat of a link to any of these guys? And I couldn't think who that would be or whatever. So they don't really have a link to the BCC, but at least they kind of have that thing against Eddie Kingston. It makes sense from that side of things. I mean, Santana didn't really have a thing against Eddie Kingston, but then if he is boys with Ortiz, it kind of makes sense. Although he was boys with Eddie, so but maybe they'll do a thing if this continues. Like maybe they will do a thing of like Santana's kind of more in the middle. I'd love to see those guys back together, like because that's what like ideally that stuff with Ortiz wouldn't have happened, and it would be Eddie Kingston's side who is short, and they'd be coming to back up Eddie Kingston. That would be ideal because that would make complete sense. But it is what it is. I think it adds another layer to Eddie's feud with Claudio as well, because it's another two of his friends who have now joined sides with Claudio. Everyone's just siding with Claudio, and that's just going to enrage him even more. So I like that detail, but I think it's an all right like an okay fit in that sense. Didn't really fit with the BCC, but it fits for that reason. And for me personally, it was a lovely surprise. Although I was spoiled on it, but you know, when I was spoiled on it, I was like, oh, that's great! I can't wait to watch Dynamite. But that's because I'm a big fan of those guys.
Yeah, likewise. And like I said, I'd like to see them go on and do stuff together in the tag division.
They need to win them, man. They need to win them. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally.
Ridiculous.
So following this segment, we had the backstage, Rey Fenix being taken out in the ambulance. We saw Renee Paquette approach Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston gave her a mouthful for sticking the mic in his face and, you know, look what your husband done and everything. Is that what he's on? Cool. And all that kind of stuff, which is just trademark Eddie Kingston. Like, this guy is wrestling real. Yes, it is real for him. So that was really cool. Also, we got backstage members of the JAS telling Sammy Guevara, why are you still friends with Jericho? I think Sammy Guevara was going to go out with Jericho for the contract signing, which was the next segment. Obviously, just telling Sammy, like, you know, this guy has never kind of backed you up and all of that kind of stuff. Just, like, be aware. And then we come to what I'm sure universally will be agreed as the best segment on Dynamite last night. The contract signing between Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho. Ospreay and Don Callis come out first, followed by Jericho with Sammy Guevara with him. And I can't even say word for word what, you know, Will Ospreay kind of spouted, kind of getting all ramped up for this. There was hella bruvs in there. And it was him basically just getting over, like, he needs this. He's the best in the world. He's better than the Elite. He's better than Moxley. He's better than Chris Jericho. He's better than CM Punk, which the crowd absolutely loved when he said he's better than CM Punk. The fact that, you know, his contract is running out in 6 months, which is the first time he has mentioned that, that, you know, there's going to be millions of dollar opportunities and contracts on the table for him to take when that happens. That this match is absolutely massive for him. You know, it's going to help him basically put his kid through school, all of that kind of stuff. Like, really heartfelt, passionate promo. And credit to Chris Jericho, because I didn't really think there was much coming back from that, but Chris Jericho put over how important this was to him. He, you know, let us know about, you know, it's not just the Fozzy concert side of things and everything. You know, this match was supposed to happen. Was it 2020? He said it was meant to happen, or 2021. And that now it's gonna happen. That Will Ospreay is gonna have to be at his best to beat Chris Jericho at his best, and this is a massive match, the biggest match for Chris Jericho, bigger than any WrestleMania, bigger than Tokyo Dome. They both just absolutely went for it, and as Chris Jericho was still going, Will Ospreay just knocks the mic out of his hand and goes for him. Chris Jericho gets a slap. Chris Jericho slaps Ospreay. Ospreay falls to his feet. All the security that look like 15-year-olds jump in to start blocking it off and everything like that. Pretty much how the segment ends. But yeah, for everyone that was kind of on the fence about this, Ospreay should be facing someone better or this, that, and the other. I feel like these guys really sold this match in this one segment. If you weren't convinced before, this segment, in my opinion, was incredible. Like I say, best on the show. Gareth, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, going into this match, Del Boy's going to be annoyed, but I wasn't that invested because I don't really care about Chris Jericho. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to watch Will Ospreay because he's great. But I was like, but against Jericho, it's like I knew it would be like a good match and it will. It'll overshoot the expectations of those people who are saying it would be a bad match, but it's not going to be one of Ospreay's best, I would expect. You know, I hope they prove me wrong, but just because of like the athleticism is only going to be there on one side, really. Jericho can still go, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's not going to be like Ospreay versus Omega, basically. But, this got me really, really hyped for it. I'm really invested in it. Ospreay isn't someone, I like him as a wrestler, but like I'm not really invested in him partially because of his character. It's just like, I find him really funny, but like, I don't really care about him because like he's a heel. So it's kind of hard to. But like when he was saying that stuff, it was kind of like, it was weird because he's going to be playing babyface on the night, essentially, even if he's playing the heel in terms of like how the match is set out, just because of it's his home country. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to be cheering him. Well, maybe there'll be some casuals who just want to see Jericho, but a lot of people are going to be cheering him, basically. So, in a way, it's kind of a weird dynamic in that sense as well. And that was another thing that initially turned me off. But when I saw this promo from him, him talking about like his new stepson and putting him through school and stuff, I thought that is like something that's like I'd expect from a babyface, but it is still like it's a real world thing that a character would still care about. A heel would still care about that. There are the boxers who I think are absolute dickheads and I don't like them, but they ultimately still have families and they want to do that. Like it's still something that motivates them, so it makes complete sense. And even though it's something you would usually hear from a babyface, anyway, and it made me really want to see Ospreay win, and I think he will. Again, we'll get on to predictions later, but I think he will because I'd like to think they wouldn't be that silly. But it is Jericho. Maybe he's politics to get the win as well. You never know. But yeah, it made me much more excited for the match. I thought it was hilarious, obviously, like with Ospreay getting bruv in every 2 seconds. It's just great. He knows exactly what he's doing with it as well. Like, especially the American audience, just like eat it up. Yeah, I just really enjoyed the segment. Like you said, probably the best on the show, and definitely something that really elevated my excitement for the match. So perfectly done, really.
Yeah, NK, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought this segment was incredible. Like Gareth, I think I'm someone who's I'm hot and cold with Chris Jericho. Obviously, I've ranted about the Jericho cycle many times, and I still believe in the Jericho cycle being a thing. But to his credit, I think Jericho, within the last 2 years, has produced some good matches. I remember like he had a match on Dynamite with John Moxley.
That was amazing.
A few good matches. A match with Eddie Kingston that was really good. Jericho's been somebody like when he's done his job. Like I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say he's delivered like match of the nights or anything like that. But like there's definitely been some good matches in Jericho's recent tenure in AEW. So obviously, yeah, if I was fantasy booking a card, I wouldn't book Jericho versus Ospreay. But what they did in this segment is kind of personalize it and kind of harken back to like Jericho is someone who's had who was instrumental in Ospreay's career. And that kind of like I'm somebody who's considered as one of the greatest of all time, and Jericho and Ospreay is definitely somebody who's been molded into that position for sure. And obviously in the last 2 years, he's kind of like, even though he doesn't work in the company, like AEW fans love him. Even people that, didn't watch him in New Japan, Ospreay's become a household name within the AEW product because of his appearances at Forbidden Door and the Dynamites and stuff like that. So I feel like what this segment did was just kind of like add that fire that this feud needed, because when you look at the graphic on paper, it's like, But then this segment absolutely just knocked it out of the park, and now I'm very excited to see Ospreay and Jericho. And like we said this on the WRESTHINGS podcast, but Ospreay doesn't even work here, and he's he's one of the few people with an actual singles match at Wembley Stadium. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
When I clocked that last week, I thought that this is mad. And I'll take this comment here from MAA. It says, if the deal isn't already in place, I'm sure being on All In is a big sweetener for Ospreay to join AEW. This is very similar to what I said last week to NK. Like, not to say Tony Khan is pandering to Ospreay. I won't put it as blunt as that. But, he has been given a lot of really good spots when he has crossed over to AEW. And this is an amazing spot for someone that isn't signed to the company. So if we're to speculate, because I think I know NK's opinion, Gareth, what would you say in terms of 6 months' time? Is Ospreay All Elite?
I was talking about this basically after he mentioned the 6 months thing in his promo. I was talking about this with my mate as I was watching it, and we were both like, it kind of feels like, I think Tony Khan, to put him on there, and I think he's going over Jericho as well. I'd like to think Tony Khan's smart enough to be like, look, okay, if I do this for you, blah, 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 this is something like when time comes, you can still work New Japan here and there, like he lets people do, which I think is something that Ospreay I still think would like to do, but probably wants, especially with his injury issue, wants a slightly easier schedule. The New Japan one is probably the hardest, even though it's not every single day going at it like a WWE one can be. Just when you're there, it's just so grueling, and I can understand why Ospreay. Jericho mentioned it, like, don't kill your body. You want longevity out of this. You've got to be smart. I think there's probably some truth to that. Whether Jericho actually called him up and said that, yeah. I could see it because, but he seems to have a story with everyone in the industry that where he's helping them out. And it's like, are you really that helpful? Because you come across really egotistical. But if you are, fair enough. The whole Daniel Garcia thing, everyone in the JS had a sob story with Jericho, and now Ospreay. Everyone seems to have one. But, and I'm not saying all of them are false, and I'm not saying maybe they are all true. Maybe it's just like this incredible guy behind the scenes. Maybe he is. And maybe he's just so good at playing a heel that he comes across as one in real life as well. To me, anyway. He's blocked me on Twitter anyway. He can't do anything else to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I do like him, to be fair, but it's funny that he always seems to have these stories. Is it true? Maybe, probably, yeah. But it's just funny that he's always got one, I think. But yeah, no, I think to answer the question, I think he will sign. And also, dream match. After watching that promo, I want to see Ospreay go face to face with a babyface MJF. I just think that'd be hilarious. MJF calling him a chav, Ospreay just saying bruv loads.
That would be fun. It would be
money, mate.
That would be great. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. And the match would be great as well.
Yeah, this was a very, very good segment. Got us hyped up for what we're going to get on the weekend. I think the Adam Cole, Renee Paquette segment followed this. Then we had Roderick Strong and the Kingdom were there with Renee Paquette, and short and sweet, Roderick Strong basically said by the main event, by the end of All In, we're going to see either the real MJF or the real Adam Cole. And, he's obviously historically been a lot closer with Adam Cole, so he knows what the real Adam Cole looks like. But yeah, I guess we'll see where, like he's saying, whichever one's going to play out.
Can I come in on that quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
When he said that, because I was talking to my friend who was watching it, and I was like, we kind of want to see this play out a bit longer. Maybe they win the tag titles. The turn doesn't happen yet, and they play out a little bit longer just because of how entertaining it is. And there's something to be said for dragging it out, and there's also something to be said for dragging it out too long. And that can happen. Sometimes it's best to cut it off while it's still good and let people remember the good times, and then also you get the heat from taking it away from whichever guy it is. So anyway, but when he said that, I was like, that's basically them saying someone's going to tune in on the pay-per-view. So I was like, okay. But I also had a thought. Yeah, I also had a thought. Imagine if MJF somehow paid off Roderick Strong, and this has all been like a big work for MJF, and then the Kingdom and Roderick Strong go in on Adam Cole, and then that's Cole's next feud after MJF retains. I mean, that would be convoluted, but AEW recently has been very convoluted. I'd love to see Adam Cole versus Roddy Strong. But yeah, it's interesting. You can't call it. I know you're going to push us for a prediction at the end, and I'll give one. But genuinely, it's hard to call.
It is. Again, we'll kind of fly through this one. We had Darby Allin and Nick Wayne going up against AR Fox and Swerve. The match was decent. I think the size and the deep breaths have come already. The match was decent, to be fair. Nick Wayne, looking like a Superman at points when Swerve and AR Fox couldn't put him away. Then obviously Swerve turns his back for a second. AR Fox misses the 450. And with the help of Swerve being held out, Nick Wayne gets a roll-up win and his first win on Dynamite. These guys leave the ring, Darby and Nick Wayne, leaving the Mogul Embassy guys in the ring. Swerve takes to the mic, starts laughing, says disappointing. And when he's talking about disappointing, he's talking about AR Fox. AR Fox, every time you get a big opportunity, you fluff it, you mess it up. And I can't trust to tag with you in front of 80,000 people this weekend. Gave the mic to Prince Nana to handle the business, and Prince Nana gave him his marching orders, told him he's fired from
Vince Nana.
Vince Nana. Yeah, we didn't get the full "you're fired," but we got a "you're fired," and AR Fox was basically just begging, asking, what's going on and all of this kind of stuff. So immediately for those that would have known and heard the news, I guess you knew this is probably another one of those visa issues. Which I don't know if you guys has it actually been confirmed. This is visa issues.
It's just speculation online. From what I see.
Someone also said something about potential family bereavement, which if that's the case, then obviously there's more important things. Hopefully it's not, and hopefully it's just visa issues. But either way, it's gutting for him. I put out a tweet earlier this week saying just a couple of months ago, telling him he'd be wrestling staying at Wembley, and now it's not happening. Yeah, whatever the situation is,
last week.
Yeah, if there's bigger things happening in his life, then maybe he's not really thinking about that at the moment. But either way, it's going to be gutting for him, and
we'll talk about. We'll get to our thoughts on this segment. Obviously, then the question was asked who was going to be Swerve's partner, and the TNT champion. The TNT champion and TNT champion belt holder came out. And Christian, just straight for the jugular with Nick Wayne. I heard you've got a dad. Like, I thought that was a fantastic line. Obviously, he's got a thing about going after people with their daddy issues or their deceased fathers, should I say. Didn't put over his dad, Buddy Wayne, at all. Said, I've never heard of him, must not have been a good wrestler, this, that, and the other. That, I could be your mentor and all of this kind of stuff. So, again, I didn't see a graphic confirming this, but I'm assuming it's Christian and Swerve.
Yeah, they've updated the graphic on Twitter. Yeah.
Okay. So Christian and Swerve will take on Darby and Sting in this casket match, coffin match at All In. Now, for me, the discommunication of AR Fox from Mogul Embassy is so abrupt. Like, even if there was visa issues or there's a bereavement in the family, why have we had a fantastic 3 weeks for AR Fox with him in this new faction? And now he's just taken out. What, just for this? Like, I was saying earlier this morning when I watched this, like, couldn't they have just? I'm sure you guys have seen when Darby and Sting went to his promotion and beat him up and stuff like that. Couldn't they just have used that to write him off the show? Like, air that on TV and use that to write him off the show, or do some type of angle like that on TV, and then he can't make it on the weekend. Or like, I really felt to put him right back where he was 3 weeks ago. Literally in terms of then Darby saying, you saved my life, I love you, let's hug. Like, you came to Nick Wayne's house with a shank and you were wearing his bloody vest. Like,
literally 10 minutes earlier, he was throwing the bloody vest at Nick Wayne's mum.
His mom. Like, I feel like, obviously we get to see where this is gonna go, but I just feel like there's so much better ways they could have done this, keeping AR Fox within Mogul Embassy. NK, what was your thoughts on this segment?
Do you know what? Like, I didn't really deep what just happened, because obviously I think when Christian came in, I was like, oh yeah, I love Christian. Like, Christian's cool. When I said, wait, hold on. They've kicked AR Fox out of Mogul Embassy. No. Like, obviously, circumstances aside, I think obviously if it's visa or bereavement issues, I get why it doesn't have to be in Wembley. But like you said, kicking him out of the faction is an app, because I think, forget just like the trajectory of his career, he's the best outside of Swerve. He's the best part of the faction. He's done in the 3 weeks he's been a part of the faction. He's stood out more than Brian Cage. And obviously, I forget what the two other guys' names are, but I forgot what their names are. But Khan and
I forget the other guy's name.
Exactly.
Not Solo Sikoa, which I always think is. But then I remember.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I feel like
because he carries himself in a very similar way, isn't he? It's just like, and he's got a similar name. It's like, I'm gonna look it up.
I said not Solo.
Not Solo
It's
Sikoa.
not him, but it's
but like I feel like AR Fox, like just the dynamic between AR Fox and Swerve was amazing. And okay, let's say this was a booking decision. It's a horrible booking decision, but what I can kind of sense happening, if this isn't like a situation where he's been written off the card, is it's a situation where I fooled you guys. I wasn't kicked out of Mogul Embassy, and I'm gonna betray Derby and Sting at Wembley, and he's gonna
because then he's at Wembley.
Yeah, don't
exactly.
It's-
Dude, don't do that because that's stupid.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like I'm still a fan of TK, but I've looked at his booking like suspect, and I could honestly see that convoluted nonsense happening. Like that is a possibility. But I just think overall, just taking him out of the Mogul Embassy is like, it's stupid because his affiliation with Derby and Nick Wayne isn't going to go anywhere. And in my opinion, like I said, external circumstances aside, if you wanted to get Christian on a card, could have just done Christian versus Nick Wayne. Like the segment could have played out exactly the same,
or add them into the match or whatever. Like trios, like
trios.
A trios.
Because to be honest, Nick Wayne should be there.
Yeah, should be there. They're fighting about him and he's not there, so it's like whatever. But I don't know. I'm happy. Like Christian, it's like this segment was addition by subtraction. It's like you've added Christian into this, which was great. Christian's been amazing. But it's like you've taken away the best part of Mogul Embassy, and it's like, okay, going forward, this is bad. Like for Wembley, we can I'll be okay. The match at Wembley doesn't get affected too much. But going forward, Mogul Embassy, unless like they retire Sting at Wembley, like where do we go with them? Because I have no interest in anyone outside of Swerve now.
Swerve, yeah. Gareth, I'll ask you, quickly, and I'd obviously we're not the home office in this country and stuff, so you might not have the actual answer. But what's your thoughts on like TK? Assuming this is maybe visa related, and obviously we've seen Ray Phoenix is visa related. What's your thoughts on booking matches when these guys haven't sorted out their visas and stuff? Is there a way that they could have just waited to see the outcome before booking a match, or apply for visas earlier?
It's weird because I don't know exactly why it is, because when WWE come over and stuff, I don't recall anything like this happening, really, not on like wide scale for sure. Like you might have one or two, but it's something that we've seen even like in like Kenny had it. There's a few different people. I think Penta had it as well. Riho had it for like ages. They just didn't sort it out. Well, apparently she did anyway. I don't know. That was what people were telling me when I asked why she had just not been on TV for like a year. It's weird. When it comes to like booking them, is it a thing of like, did they think they were going to be available and just weren't? And it was a case of like, maybe this is something. Is it something to do with our government? It wouldn't surprise me because of how the Home Office over here has been acting recently. Yeah, it's strange. I'd like to think that like it couldn't have been avoided, and it's just things that like very unfortunate. But it just seems like the whole thing's been a bit of a mess. Whether that's all Tony Khan's fault, obviously there's been loads of injuries as well, which is really unfortunate. I don't know, but I think like it definitely feels like it's just generally been a bit of a mess, from the booking to some of the injuries which aren't his fault, but then also some these visa issues, which certainly it has something to do with the company, whether it's a thing of like doing it earlier or whatnot. But again, I'm not the Home Office. I'm not an expert in that department. It's just disappointing, is what I would say. Toa Leona is what his name was. It's just like Solo Sikoa is like similar kind of rhymes. So that's why I always like get them mixed up. But yeah, like I echo what NK said in regards to the Mogul Embassy. It's just really disappointing. I thought like the faction had a really bad start with those two random guys, Parker and Tattoo Man. That was terrible. And they were awful. And then they brought in these. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. I keep saying I just don't know why they just won't leave Swerve on his own. Like why? think,
Well,
well,
maybe he's really into the idea of having a faction, which I'm all for. But like, and I think like, I don't mind the guys behind him, but I'm just not that invested. And then when it came to AR Fox and they did the whole thing where it all kind of changed in a night, and then the next week they were at Nick Wayne's his house, and like they just beat the crap out of him. I was like, this is really good. And after MGF Cole, that was the story I was most invested in leading into this show. And again, if there was an issue with him not being on the card, fair enough, you know. And maybe that could have been avoided, maybe not. But fair enough. At this point, it's like, okay, well, we can't do the match. But to kick him out of action is just stupid. I've only seen people reacting negatively to it. The only one is like, do you know that Dream Bamager guy?
Yeah.
Who's a very positive account. There's nothing wrong with being positive, but sometimes it's to the point where it just lacks all critical thought. And he was like, "Yeah, that's really gutting," and blah blah blah. But it made Swerve look really, horrible. I was like, "Yeah, good," but like he could have looked horrible just by cutting him out of the match. You could have just said like, "I can't trust you at Wembley. You're going to have to prove yourself," and then maybe you've got this again. It's endless possibilities because whatever happens, it's like, okay, this is a hurdle for this character to overcome. Then he has to prove himself, and then maybe when it comes back, the next feud he really goes in on whoever they're feuding with next, or if it's just these things that like you can do, like, but they just chose this, and I don't know. Is he actually going to team? Is it team with Darby, and like, is he going to be featured regularly? Because he's clearly a great wrestler, right? He was showing he could be part of a really good act. Like NK said, he was the second best part of that faction, and he really fit in as well. Like being from the same area as Swerve, I can imagine like them on the Indies would have had a prior relationship as opposed to just Brian Cage or this Khan guy or whatever it is. Like where it's like. Yeah, they're there because Swerve wants them to be there. Basically, like Prince Nana has, he's assembled them for the sake of Swerve, but that's the thing. Like it's all very strange and convoluted, and it's just really disappointing.
So that's cut you off. Even if you lose internal logic, like the other guys, like Khan and you just said his name and I forgot his name again. But yeah, the other guys, Toa Leona, and even Brian Cage, they've lost a lot as well. So it's like, even if you look at internal logic, it's like, why are you getting you throw everyone out then? If you're gonna kick people out for losing, like throw everyone out, because aside from you, like everyone in your factions,
he loses a lot as well. Like he blows every big opportunity he gets, and then that's another thing they need to stop doing. Push him anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to come round to Darby and Swerve again because it always does. But it's I don't know. This wasn't it, and the raving we've done on this show, it's a disappointment that this is how it's ending. We'll talk about the sit-down interview between FTR and Young Bucks. Both teams, this is just literally who's better. There was no real need for any kind of hatred or any kind of story like that. It was literally based on who's better. But I feel like the Bucks took it, they kind of turned it on its head a bit with just basically saying that everything that they've accomplished and that they employed FTR into AEW, and everyone knows you because we mentioned you on our YouTube show. But the Bucks, are they playing the heels here? And I don't feel like FTR had a great rebuttal to this. I'm looking forward to the match regardless, but I just didn't feel this segment really, I don't know, done it for me. What do you guys think?
I felt okay. Like I felt like when I was watching the segment, I was like, "Ooh!" Like when Matt Jackson said what he said, but now then ultimately, I was like, "That came out of nowhere." But yeah, and I don't know if it's a thing of if FTR had a good response, it would have elevated the segment. I feel like this is one thing I didn't like the Young Bucks saying whether we win the title or not, we're made men, because I feel like it kind of took away from like the possession of the AEW title is the most important thing. It's like I feel like they could have stayed. Like I get the point they were trying to make. Like we've done so much, right? Like one match doesn't define us, but they could have said something like, "Oh, this will be the final, stamp on an already successful and goated career." So yeah, but the Young Bucks and FTR aren't good promos anyway. So, but like they're not known for the promos. I think this didn't do anything to like derail my excitement for the match. But aside from the childish side of my brain, the tribalism side of my brain saying how the Young Bucks won, the Young Bucks got a good thing on FTR. Like the killing me was like, yes, talk to him. But in terms of being objective and it elevating the program as a whole, it didn't do that. But I don't think it was a particularly bad segment. I just don't think it was anything that. Like, I don't think it was like the go home segment that I wanted that would really just sell this match for me. Not that the match didn't sell in anyway, but yeah.
That's it. For me, the match didn't necessarily need more selling. FTR coming out to save or help them in the first segment for me was FTR saying, we want to make sure you guys get to Sunday at your best, and that's it. And after seeing this segment, I thought you probably could have left it there. That was enough for me personally. Gareth, what did you think of the sit-down interview?
Yeah, I liked it to an extent. Like NK said, it wasn't like the perfect kind of go home kind of thing. I do think the Bucks are playing like situational heel with cheating to beat the Guns the other week, and then obviously coming in here being a bit more pokey and feisty than FTR, who are more talking about like how it's the legacy match. I think part of that as well is just them like trying to get in FTR's heads and stuff like that ahead of the match, which I liked that aspect of. But yeah, like NK said, there wasn't a huge amount to like go off here. They definitely won the sit down in terms of like when you think about it like that, because I mean Dax did his whole "I'm doing this for my family," getting all worked up, which always pops me. Like me and my mate sit there and we'll be like, "When's he going to mention his daughter? When's he going to mention his
wife, my daughter, my wife?
When's he going to do it?" And it always comes, and it's just like it's like a bingo ticket off. But yeah, no, so that was funny, but like. In general, like NK said, it didn't do a great deal in terms of like raising my excitement. I did like the fact that we saw a little bit more, but I think this is something I wanted to see maybe a couple of weeks ago, and then have those more respectful moments, but then have those little like those winky bits where it's like, oh yeah, but there's still a bit of like personal tension there as well, but it is mostly about like the competition, because like that does exist, and ultimately like there is an elephant in the room that their mate is like he done something and the Bucks do not like him, and I kind of wish they would have mentioned something about that, just to like, because we all know it's there. They both know it's there. It's not like it's like, oh, this is some this thing that can't be spoken. They're all fully aware of the situation. And so, but I guess maybe it's the thing, they don't want to excite fans about something where there's no plans for it at the moment. If that is the case, that there's no plans, I still think we're going to get it at some point. I think they'll get over it and they'll just go, yeah, screw it, we'll do the match. Whether that's 2 years down the line or whatever it is. But yeah, maybe it's a thing they just didn't want to like get too excited, or maybe they didn't want to distract people by talking about CM Punk, and they just wanted to keep it on the match and the rivalry. Fair enough, but I think you still leave a question open there, and it's still there regardless of whether you acknowledge it or not. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen something, and also I was so badly hoping that maybe they would mention something about like a gun, or we'll shoot you off your perch or something, or even just driving. Like maybe we'll get it in the match. Like maybe there'll be some. But I was just hoping, like, if you're gonna like fire a few shots, so to speak. Mention that. It would have been funny. Again, I get why maybe they wouldn't want to, but it's the Bucks. This is what they made their name off doing. They pushed the boat out. So yeah, it was good to see that side, because that is like what you like from the Bucks, but. There's more on the table there that like they could have like potentially just, even if they just acknowledged it without even fully going for it, I would have liked to have seen it. But yeah. Got me slightly more excited for the match. I really want the Bucks to win, just because they are the greatest, and I don't want this stupid kayfabe argument to be there. But you know, at least it keeps the debate raging on if they lose. I think they are going to, but there you go.
We'll see. Definitely a match for the ages on a massive stage. So looking forward to that one. We didn't get anything on this show in regards to the actual women's 4-way match that is happening at All In, but they found time to give us Ruby Soho and Sky Blue, respectfully. I will say that with respect, but kind of forcing Ruby Soho into the TBS title picture, whilst on Collision for the past how many weeks now, we've been obviously kind of building a scene with Willow Nightingale, Diamante, and Mercedes Martinez. Now all of a sudden is Ruby Soho wants to stake her claim for the TBS title, and she had a match on the night on Dynamite against Sky Blue, won the match. Gareth, just give me your thoughts on kind of putting this on a go-home show and not so much anything to promote the actual women's match that's on the pay-per-view.
Didn't they promote a tag team match for Rampage?
On Rampage,
which
yeah.
could have been on this show very easily, and then you could have done the Ruby stuff either on Collision, because that's where Chris Statlander's kind of been doing her thing, or just do it on Rampage, and then, you know, afterwards she says the same thing where it's like, you know, I'm calling you out. Yeah, match was okay, like it was very average. It was not something that they put any effort into in terms of the bookers, which is too often the case with the women's division. Yeah, it really disappointing in terms of, like, if you're looking at the card and it's like ticking off the bits, it's like, yeah, I'm slightly more excited for that match, slightly more excited for that match. I feel less excited for this match. It's the only match I feel less excited for, because they just told me it doesn't matter, we don't care, essentially is what they've told me. I appreciate that they're doing more with the women on Rampage, and they're kind of doing, you know, they're kind of making that show where they're going to do more with the women on there because nobody watches it anyway. That's literally the thinking, but that's not good enough. So yeah, they deserve the criticism for that. In terms of the TBS, I think it'd be a good match for Chris Statlander. I think they had a match before and it was pretty decent. One of Ruby Soho's better matches. Willow's currently in there. I was really hoping for Willow versus Stat at the show. I haven't looked at any Collision spoilers, so I don't know if that is going to be there, or if they're maybe saving it for All Out. I can understand why, but then they've only got one women's match on this show, which isn't good enough again. Even on the pre-show, they should have something. So maybe this is something they're setting up to do for the pre-show, and then on All Out, maybe it's Willow, who I really want to win, even though I know Stats just won it. I just Willow is just like my favorite women's wrestler, along with Shida. It's just those two, my favorites. So it's just pure bias, basically. But yeah, so it's very disappointing, essentially. But you could go on and on about the women's division. They're never going to change it, I feel like, because these problems have been highlighted time and time and time again, I think, on every podcast that isn't just biased towards AEW. So all across social media, anyone can see it if they're not blind. They don't care about women's wrestling. It's simple as that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a letdown. We'll hop, skip, jump over to the next segment. We saw a vignette from House of Black. They basically got rid of Billy Gunn's boots that they took. The Acclaimed come storming out, no raps, no entrance music, just come storming out straight to the ring, all business, demand for House of Black to come out. House of Black come to the ring, beat up the Acclaimed, and then Billy Gunn comes out. Billy Gunn, who we haven't seen obviously since he left his boots in the ring, and he comes out, gets, chases away House of Black ultimately, and then basically says that, you've messed with my kids, my boys, and you wanted this, you got my attention. One last match, all or nothing. He's gonna team with the Acclaimed against House of Black at All In, but not as daddy ass. He is going to be badass Billy Gunn. NK, we've spoken at length in regards to the Acclaimed being almost pushed into slots since their tag team run, since their tag team championship run, because they are over. The crowd enjoy them. If I'm completely honest, I'm surprised they weren't on this card earlier. Maybe even on the 0 hour show. I thought it's a given that they're gonna be at the show. obviously this was the segment that led to it. So NK, what was your thoughts when you saw this happening, taking shape?
I mean, I could see it coming. I knew the Billy Gunn retirement thing wasn't real. It was giving me. Look, why is it with Malachi, everyone does a fake retirement? We did it with Cody Rhodes. Now we're doing it with Billy Gunn. Everyone's doing a fake. I'm retired. Psych. I'm back. And I think from this they claimed I winning the trios belts. I've said that the Acclaim. I thought I'm someone when they claimed first like burst onto the scene and they really started gaining momentum. I was all for it. That match they had with Swerve and Our Glory at All Out last year was great, and then winning them as tag team champions was okay. But I feel like what they capitalized on the momentum that was with them. But now it's kind of sometimes with AEW complain about like why don't we see this talent? Why don't we see that talent? I feel like with the Acclaim is the opposite problem where I feel they've been overexposed and they've been slotted into scenes and programs that we don't want to see them in. And I think what exasperates the issue a bit more is the fact that we saw Andrade versus House of Black, versus various members of House of Black, and that kind of got my brain thinking, I would love to see Andrade versus a Malachi. Obviously, we saw Andrade versus Buddy Murphy. But it's like now you've given me an alternative. You've given me something to compare. Okay, what would I rather see? House of Black versus the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, or versus, some version of LFI. And now that Roosh has re-signed, I don't know if he's injured or not. But you've piqued my curiosity, and it's not just a thing of me fantasy booking. There's genuine narrative reasons for that match to happen now. Yeah. So it's like now I'm getting this, and I feel like I've been not cheated in the sense, but I feel like I'm just getting an inferior match, and with an act for me that's grown quite tiresome. I know that they still get great reactions from the crowd, and I'm sure 80,000 people saying "Scissor me, Daddy" will be great, but for me, it's like I thought with the Acclaim, it's like I've just grown tired of them, and it's the same shtick over and over again. And I think that's all it is for me. It's a shtick right now. I don't really know them as actual characters. I just think they're guys that come out, got a cool slogan, and that's about it. Which is fitting for Billy Gunn because that's what the New Age Outlaws were. So
yeah.
Do I dare say that AEW have grown tired of House of Black? Because when we saw them become trios champions, like others, before we thought, yeah, this is going to be good. It seemingly, it gave them this little open house rules, I think they called it, stipulation that they could add to their matches, which we saw and stuff. I don't really think it caught fire like they thought it would. But then for a long period, until maybe a couple of weeks ago, they weren't even on TV or Collision or whatever the case is. Like, I'm not mad at the prediction that Acclaimed win here, because I just feel like House of Black have had their chance and haven't set the world alight. Gareth, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they've not been booked well in general. Like, I know they've won the trios titles and stuff, and people go, well, they've won titles. Yeah, but like in terms of their actual booking, they've not been booked particularly well since joining AEW to begin with. Malachi as well has had moments, like when he first arrived, it was amazing, and then it kind of fizzled out. People blame that on Cody, but then as time's gone on, like it's not improved massively. Again, you get bits where it's like, okay, maybe they're going to do something. They win the trios titles. You think, okay, mate, here we go, and then they have the odd good match and stuff, but that's all it really is. Again, it never really feels like it matters all that much. I don't know how much of that is because Malachi and just the House of Black in general are very intent on telling stories in this way, which some people love it. A very small amount of the audience love it. Most of them just think it's all right, and some people really hate it as well. So I don't really think it's a net positive. But one of the good things about AEW is it does let these wrestlers express themselves as artists. But yeah, they've not been handled particularly well, is the bottom line. And if they just lose these trios titles now, it'll be a very forgettable reign. Ultimately, as much as they've had the odd good match and stuff, it will be very forgettable. The most memorable part of their reign is that thing with Andrade, which was like mainly a one-on-one feud with Buddy, with a match with Brody in there as well, but mainly it was just about the mask and it wasn't about the titles, you know. And like NK said, I thought maybe we would see like LFI, even though Andrade's kind of playing the babyface and their heels, because they have that alliance established. Maybe they would come and we'd just still see the match. And you know, House of Black kind of tread this line between babyface and heel because it kind of depends on who they're wrestling anyway. So if their opponents kind of did that as well, it wouldn't really matter all that much. You know, Roosh can be an intense kind of half and half babyface, a half babyface, half heel. That would be fine, I'm sure. You know, I would be more into that as well. I completely understand. As soon as he put those boots down, I was like, they're winning the trios titles at Wembley. I just knew exactly that is the most Tony Khan thing to do. They've lost twice. Oh, you know, I can't win the big one. Blah blah blah. It's set up for a Wembley. Not that it's particularly good. It's just something that a wrestling company would do. Yeah, I'm not completely against this match. I'm not but I'm not really invested in it either. Like, I'm just kind of feeling like, yeah, that'll be fun to be like, oh, scissor me, in the moment, and it'll be an all right match. And you know, I like the fact they've tried to tell a story and they've tried to, you know, give a bit more of character, and the fact that like these guys really care about each other and stuff, and they have a real bond. And then, you know, Billy Gunn was there saying like the two hardest things: leaving this business behind and leaving these guys. And you're just thinking, what about your kids? You left them. Was that easy? Was
the
it?
Actual sons.
But either way, like, I mean, maybe that wasn't that was easy just because they become such, you know, idiots by that point. But I was just like, that's not making me like you more, you know. So yeah, maybe that's just me just reading in too much to it. I don't know. But in the end, ultimately, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, you know, it's I definitely do feel like the Acclaimed are being given a lot of opportunities, a lot of spots, but you know, they're getting big reactions, and as we're always told in wrestling, big reactions is good. And that's always going to be 80,000 people acting like fools with scissor fingers and everything kind of that. They're going to get that big reaction. And yeah, I just don't feel like the trios titles have necessarily, like you said, been booked the best on House of Black. I think as well, this may be the one of maybe one or two title changes that they can do on the night, you know, to send the crowd home happy and all that kind of stuff. If people started to talk about remember the occasion by. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, we spoke about the Acclaimed, and just like, you know, at times I feel like it's just forcing it down our necks. Pause.
I mean, if they're Acclaimed, you can get away with it.
No pause needed, huh?
No.
Okay. Main event time. We had the Ring of Honor tag team titles being defended. United Empire, or Aussie Open, defending against the Hardys. This match didn't last long at all.
Thank God.
Yeah, about 7 or 8 minutes. The Hardys got put away with the Aussie Arrow, I think it's called. The Hardys just feel like very unimportant. Like all the older statesmen, the, you know, TNA guys, Jeff Jarrett and all them, man, and, you know, Sting and all of these other guys just feel like they're so much more important than the Hardys, which is a shame. The Aussies Aussie Open took to the mic afterwards, and they were basically, you know, saying that they're going to win their match, the 0 hour match at All In. There's going to be no kangaroo kicks and all of this kind of stuff that was obviously previously made fun of the week before. We saw MJF and Cole come out, tried to do the respecting, didn't really work. Brawl happened. I think there's about 2 or 3 occasions within this brawl where MJF saved Adam Cole from whatever was coming his way. We saw these guys plan to do a double clothesline, didn't work. Adam Cole he was going to put a super kick on Carl Fletcher. Carl Fletcher was being held by MJF. Fletcher jumped out the way. The kick nearly hit MJF. MJF caught it brilliantly. Again, it looked like, you know, a planned attack possibly by Adam Cole. They hugged. as the crowd requested them to. We saw MJF put on the diamond ring and stuff like that. The tease is still happening. We've got this tag team match as well, which, you know, has, I think, almost masterfully been put into the pre-show now to kind of add fuel to the fire for whatever's going to happen in this main event. Yeah, this is how the show ended with the main event segment. You know, we saw these guys earlier in the sit-down session that we talked about. We'll start, Gareth. What did you think of this segment? Because I guess the match was kind of insignificant.
Yeah, I was glad the match was over quite quickly. And when they put it in the main event, I was like, oh my God, are they going to put the titles on the Hardys to get them in Wembley? I was like, no.
I did think that as well, to be fair.
I was like, no, surely not. And luckily they didn't. But yeah, no, it was the match got past that was good. And then when we got into the bits that was going on, I think some people might say they've over-egged it with like all these little teasers and stuff. They're very much, I think, telling you that a turn's going to happen, which is like, I would have liked a little bit more subtlety. And I think like I said, with the Roddy Strong thing earlier in the show, I was already like, right, they've literally pretty much told us. They've literally told us you're going to see one of their true faces and you don't know which one it is. So I don't think we really needed it, but again, to see out the show, I mean, better than seeing out the show was just Hardy's getting put on their ass and then that's it. But yeah, it was a nice extra thing. And then to see MGF put the ring on as just one, because like I said earlier in this live stream, that MGF has been showing much more of like, I'm all good, and whereas Adam Cole is much more in two minds. So for MGF to show that, I think was needed just to like add that extra bit of like, okay, it might still be MGF. It's not like completely coming out of nowhere. He's still got second thoughts in the back of his mind. And I mean, why wouldn't you ultimately with like the amount of stuff that Adam Cole's done? Again, he's apparently not watching the show, but yeah, it's interesting. It was a nice way to leave it, I think, and again, just ramps it up. But for my taste anyway, I think they've just done it a little bit too much. But yeah, it is what it is. Ultimately, the story was already told before this segment, and it's just adding bits on. So yeah, it was fine. Leaving this show, I was even more excited for this match than I was going in, which was already the match I was most excited for. From a storytelling perspective, at least. So yeah, it was good.
NK, anything to add?
Yeah, I basically echo the same sentiments. I feel like this was just enough. I think with wrestling, like, I do agree with Gareth that I do like subtlety, but I feel like with stories like this, like they just want to hammer it home one more time for those who didn't get it in the back, because
a lot of the audience are idiots, as we know.
Yes. Yes.
You just take one look on Twitter and they're all idiots.
Sometimes you really need to like, because
the groovy Jimmy's out there. Joking. Love you, Jimmy. You'd see a lot of discourse about, I don't get the story, so maybe it was just a thing of like, okay, for those of you who aren't paying attention, look what's happening. But I feel like I think it was a good way to end the show. Like I said, I'm happy the Hardys match went short because I don't have enough time to get onto the Hardys right now. But yeah, overall, just great go home segment, and I'm just like this. This is what I'm excited for. Like I need to get into like Wembley Stadium with enough time to see the pre-show in its entirety. Like never. Like it's one thing I'll say about All In. Never have I been so excited for a pre-show match. I've never been excited for a pre-show match. So if there's one thing that they've done well, pre-shows matter now. Pre-shows matter. Yeah. I think they're really trying to get people into Wembley on time, because Wembley does have like historic issues with getting people in. So it's good.
Very smart way to do it. We spoke a couple of weeks ago about the riskiness of, your main event, being in the pre-show, and God forbid, touch wood, that, nothing happens to any of them. That, outside of kayfabe, of course, going into the main event. That doesn't jeopardize the main event, but yeah, a very slick piece of business there, and obviously, helps the story that they're telling as well. Right, so leading from where we just left off with MJF and Adam Cole, let's start with the predictions now. Start from AEW 0 Hour. You've got the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships on the line. Aussie Open defending against MJF and Adam Cole. I'm going to go with an MJF and Adam Cole win, because I think regardless of what happens in the main event, the story will be sweeter if these two are bound by this title, whether one betrays someone or anything like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this. Gareth, you're next. What are you thinking?
I would like that, because if they are the tag team champions and then one of them turns on the other, that is just very interesting. I don't know if you remember, I think it was SmackDown versus Raw 2009. There's a Road to WrestleMania where I think it's like MVP and John Cena attack.
I think
and
so.
then
Did this, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then they end up like having the match at WrestleMania. It's just like, it kind of reminds me of that kind of thing, because it's like these tag team partners who are forced to be together but don't actually like each other. I thought for years, by the way, that MVP deserved a push because of that. A main event push. Anyway,
Yeah.
I thought he's on John Cena's level because of the rest. Anyway, yeah, that's so. I would like to see that to happen. I think I'm going to go with my official prediction that Aussie Open will retain, because I think they'll go down the route of one of them kind of messes something up. Maybe it's MJF, he's obsessed with this kangaroo kick, and then that kind of causes them to lose or something. That's already a thread which is plotted in there, which could happen. So maybe it's that, and then Adam Cole is annoyed at him, and then that plays out after the match in one way or another. Be that Adam Cole turns on him, is like, you're what, this or that. That's one of my problems actually with Adam Cole turning. Actually, I'll wait for that later. Yeah.
Okay.
Aussie Open, that's my official prediction, but I want MJF and Adam Cole.
NK?
Okay. I think Aussie Open retain. I think, Aussie Open retain. Like I said, I think a mistake happens that really leads, I think the tension is going to boil to an absolute max at the end of the match, so that when we go into the main event, it's just okay, the gloves are off, we're gonna go at it. It's gonna provide some much needed heat for the match. And we'll talk about the main event when we get to it. But yeah, Aussie Open for the win.
Cool. Right, onto the main card. I think they've added another match onto the 0 Hour, and they'll probably add a few more. But yeah,
I think it was Jungle Boy and
Hook. Yeah,
yeah,
for the FTW Championship.
And Hook's surely winning that.
Yeah, I would say Hook. Cool. Trios match. Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Konosuke Takeshita. Gareth, who is your prediction to win?
If they put Kenny on a card, don't give him a singles match and have him lose, I'm going to be raging. I think Kenny wants to put over Takeshita, so it makes sense for Kenny to kind of get the win in this match, probably pinning Juice. For that reason, and then that motivates Callis to go after him, because Omega's got Callis to get Takeshita to really go after Omega, because Omega's got one over on them and Callis can't have that, and that can kind of reignite their feud, which has kind of died in the last few weeks, unfortunately. So that's my logic. Very excited to see Kota Ibushi and Hangman as well, but it's mainly about those two guys, I think.
NK?
Yeah, I think the Kenny wins. I think Kenny wins. Kenny and team win, and I don't know actually. Okay, Kenny, but Hangman and Ibushi. I have to give my answer now. Otherwise, I'll convince myself that the other team will win it. Yeah, it's them lot.
I mean, with what Gareth just said, I'm just thinking if they go ahead and do Takeshita versus Omega at All Out, that's Chicago, and Kenny's not going to get a great reception there, is he? I don't know. I'll go with Kenny Omega to win here. Kenny Omega's team to win here. And then we'll see what happens next week. Coffin match: Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. NK, who's your pick?
Sting and Darby. I don't see Sting's undefeated in AEW, right? Or has he lost a match?
Mm-hmm.
I think Sting and Darby.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Sting and Darby as well. Gareth?
Yeah, I don't think Sting, in what appears to be his last year, is going to be losing at WrestleMania. I think he probably will lose whatever is his last match to put someone over, as like you're supposed to do. But I don't think that's here. And I mean, their opponents are a team that aren't really a team as well. So, and Darby's got to look strong ahead of the TNT title match. Like, we're all set. This event exists to set up All Out, doesn't it? It's annoying. No, it does not literally, but some of the matches. It's annoying that I'm thinking more about. This is because then we've got All Out, and then that's why, because we're going to set up this match or whatever. It's annoying to think about it that way rather than this is where these feuds are getting blown off. But is what it is.
Yeah, no, that's right. Let's talk Stadium Stampede. There's Team BCC versus, I guess, Team Eddie Kingston. I think I'll go with Team BCC because I think there's something with Moxley and Orange Cassidy possibly going forward, which might get explored a bit more within this match. And then, there's other moving parts that we talked about earlier. But I think Team BCC. Gareth, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a really tough one to predict because, I mean, this is one of the ones where I don't know exactly what's coming next because people have predicted that Mox versus Orange Cassidy will come up, which I'd love to see. But then there's also the Eddie Kingston thread, which I think is more focused on Claudio now. But I'm hoping for a moment between Eddie and Mox where they kind of get like forced into fighting and they can do some lovely tribute stuff to
Terry Funk.
Sorry, his name just like I was thinking Tyson Fury. I was like, what? Terry Funk. They can do some tribute stuff for him. That would be nice. But I don't know. But I will go with Team BCC just because I think like there's more on it, especially with now Ortiz and Santana coming back. It just makes more sense for Orange Cassidy and Eddie Kingston to lose from a story perspective in my mind. But again, AEW's been very random recently, so it could be, but I think there'll be enough babyface victories on this card as well. So I will go BCC winning.
NK?
Yeah, Blackpool Combat Club. I feel like they just came from losing blood and guts as well, and I think a win for them would be needed. And in fact, best friends, they're guys that they could eat a pin. Like it's fine. Like it's not going to harm them. And I feel like going into various different programs, it's like it still keeps the heat between Claudio and Kingston. And if you want to do Moxley and Cassidy, BCC coming out with a win at Wembley definitely adds fuel to that. So Blackpool Combat Club for me.
Cool. The Real World Championship is on the line. CM Punk is defending the Real World Championship against Samoa Joe. Gareth, who's your pick for the win?
I mean, Punk, because I don't think he's dropping that title. I kind of wish that they weren't doing it for this title because, I think there's inevitably going to be something between Punk and MJF at some point. So, and that kind of requires the two guys holding the belts. That's kind of the story, isn't it? So, it's kind of giving it away. I would like to have had a bit more unpredictability in regards to this match, especially because of like this, their legacy as a feud together. Kind of, I think deserves that. It kind of feels like a bit of an afterthought, this match, when it should be a bigger deal. Maybe they're thinking it as a bigger deal than I am, but I think Punk will win, and that's fine.
NK?
Oh, so am I lagging? Am I good? Am I lagging?
Someone's lagging. Might be me. Might be Mekz.
I don't know.
Something's going on here.
Me.
The House of Black have arrived.
Okay. I think CM Punk. I think it's a foregone conclusion. And like And for a rivalry as historic as Joe and Punk, like this kind of just went out on a whimper. And even like the promo, like two people the caliber of promo of Joe and Punk, like we never got a segment between the two, really just like selling the match and talking about things. I think maybe we might get that on Collision because hope maybe, but just something like on the same level of like Osprey and Jericho, where it's like where you've got two just elite level promos talking about stuff, and they've already got a storied history that they can feed off of from. So I feel like the ball was therefore dropped with that one. But yeah, I think with the whole Real World Championship stuff, which I think was brought into play way too prematurely. Yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion that CM Punk wins. So it's CM Punk.
Yeah. Punk wins for me as well. I did see some people speculating that if Punk retains, obviously MJF wins the main event. Punk comes out afterwards, and you know they then face each other on unification match or whatever the case is. Come all out next week. Leave it alone. I don't want to see that.
I can see him doing it though.
I mean, I can see them doing it from a business point of view that they need to sell another pay-per-view the week after. But I think it'll be a horrible decision with everything that those guys done pre-brawl out. You know, the great work
the
there.
of build that they can do.
And
there's so much behind them now as well that you can.
Correct.
It would be disappointing.
To kind of just throw it all just on next week. Yeah, I don't think that would be good. But yeah, that's just fan speculation. Trios titles on the line. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass going after the House of Black. NK, who do you think will win?
The Acclaimed.
I'm also going to go for the Acclaimed. Gareth?
Yeah, the Acclaimed. Billy Gunn will obviously get the pin because that's the only tiny bit of story attached to this match.
Yep. AEW Women's World Championship on the line in a 4-way match. Hikaru Shida, the champion, defending against Britt Baker, Toni Storm, and the nation's favorite, Saraya.
Oh, definitely not. I hope she gets booed.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. Like, I don't think her reaction is going to be a great one.
There'll be a lot of casuals there, I think. Like
it'll be mixed. It'll probably be mixed. Like, people will be happy to see her just on a whole, coming back into wrestling kind of thing. But yeah, she hasn't been great. I'm gonna go with Shida to retain here. I think. Yeah, there's only two real people for me that can win it here: Shida and Britt Baker. I would actually say more so than Toni Storm, just because Toni Storm's character is taking this different angle, as great as it is.
For her to win now would be really weird. Like,
yeah, exactly. So
everything's falling apart.
Yeah, if Shida doesn't win, I would say it'll be Britt Baker. But yeah, Shida for me. Gareth, what about you?
I think it's going to be Saraya. I think they've put it on Shida to basically have it be that, like, when Saraya wins it, she doesn't win it straight from Toni Storm. And then I think Tony's going to flip out because she's not the number one in that faction anymore. And maybe that faction will fall apart. I really don't want this to happen. But as soon as Shida won it, I was like, they're going to put over Saraya. That's as soon as she won. That's why it's spoiled Shida winning it for me. Because like, if that's why they did it. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you have Shida win it at the show? If
at All In, yeah.
We said forward. This, yeah.
So she's not. That's why I really don't think she's going to retain. Baker would be fine because she kind of needs something like, and she did an all right job with the title before, not as good as Toni Storm or Shida or anything like that, or Hayter. But when Hayter were to return, that could be an interesting dynamic that they could set up. But then again, apparently Hayter's out for ages, so Baker could win it in 6 months, and maybe that's the right time for when Hayter would actually be returning. And then Tony can't win it for the reasons I already said. And the hometown title winners, MAA has said in the chat. So I really, really don't want it to happen. I'm desperate for Shida to win because, like I said, Shida and Willow are my two favorites. But yeah,
from a story point of view, I don't mind it. I'm always here for a bit of chaos and what's going to drum up conversation and stuff. But damn, that's horrible. Especially to Shida, who's so good. You know,
and
you just,
Saraya doesn't deserve it, man.
and
Like,
she doesn't deserve it.
It's
She's
been the most
yeah,
WWE
no.
thing I've ever seen.
No.
Sorry?
And you've done hot potato with the title. Obviously, circumstances. You put it on Tony Storm because of Jamie Hayter, fine. And then you put it on Shida, fine. But then to switch the title again, it's like... But then to put on Saraya as well, oh no. I mean, that is very plausible though. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
NK, what's your prediction?
Hikaru Shida retains. That's the only logical decision in my opinion. Hikaru Shida retains, and yeah.
The scary part is that Saraya could win. Just being Saraya, she does something sneaky. Maybe, you know, when someone gives someone else a finisher, she throws that person out the ring and just steals the pin. Like, it can be something as easy as that.
The thing is, I would say like they could do a story where like, oh, you know, she does it where she didn't deserve it within the match, and throughout since she's arrived, she hasn't deserved it, and that could be the story. But they've just done that with the Guns, with the tag titles. It's like, and it's not great anyway. So to do it twice in 1 year would be just the slap in the face to what like traditional AEW booking has been. But as we've seen, Tony Khan's he's got some ideas. Some of them are good and some of them are terrible.
That's a brilliant way to put it. He's got some ideas.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Let's talk about the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. FTR, the champions, defending against the Young Bucks. Gareth, who would you go with here?
For tribal reasons, I really want it to be Young Bucks because I just don't want anyone forcing that debate anymore. But it is what it is. People will force it anyway, as we've seen with Messi and Ronaldo. It's no debate to be had, but people still have it for some reason. So either way, it would still happen. But I think it will be FTR, and I think like the Young Bucks will kind of like want to show like a bit of like humility in putting them over on the biggest stage. I'd like to think anyway. But maybe, maybe there's more bad blood than we thought. And Young Bucks said, yeah, we'll do the match, but only if we go over. Maybe they're using Punk's methods against his friends. But I think it will be FTR.
NK?
Full tribalism mode. No objectivity. This is all elite wrestling. This is the Young Bucks. This is All In. This is their event. Full tribalism hat on. Yeah, we're going for the good Christian boys from Reseda, California, Rancho Cucamonga, California. We're going with the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, for me, I want the Young Bucks to win, but I guess my reason's a bit different. I want the separation between them and Omega just a bit. Let them go off and do tag team stuff and help the tag team division once again just feel alive.
Yeah. It's always best when they're on top, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we can't keep reverting to that, admittedly. We need to fix up with that. That can't be the escape rope, the Young Bucks. But yeah, I feel FTR's run has only come good since Collision. Since Collision, they've been excellent. Like, they're doing FTR things, putting on banger matches and stuff. But before that, there was just largely not much of anything. The stuff with the Guns happening. So yeah, just for the sake of the tag team division, the Bucks. But yeah, I think the occasion for both of these guys is, what's most important. To kind of
FTR have already said, like, we've got unfinished business with this tag team, that tag team. Santana and Ortiz are coming as well. I'm sure they want to wrestle them. But I think they are on this like legacy run that Tony Khan's letting them have. And, hopefully further down the line, we get another FTR Young Bucks match. It's the kind of thing that every couple of years you could come back to. And, they just keep trading wins and stuff. And it would be quite cool if they ended like on like 3-3, like they each get 3 victories or something like that. I think because like it's not a thing where we have to have one of them be the better, at least in the kayfabe argument. We all know the real answer. Yeah. But yeah, I think in the short term, it just feels like FTR are the ones with momentum behind them. They're the ones that Tony Khan's pushing. But again, a nice title win for the Young Bucks. Maybe they do want to shake up the tag division, and then who knows? Yeah. CMFTR go after the trios. Who knows?
It's plausible. I might change my answer come Sunday or before Sunday. So We'll see. And yes, the big one, the AEW World Championship match, Adam Cole versus the champion MJF. My standpoint, I guess for now, which I'm kind of been fixated on, is that Adam Cole wins the match, but MJF walks out as champion. I still think there is something in that contract signing where Adam Cole just didn't read it and sign that contract. I will stick with that.
It's secretly like best out of 2 out of 3 falls or something, and then MJF steals one, and then they have another 5 minutes, and
it could be. It could literally be anything, because Adam Cole just didn't read that contract. And in that segment, MJF, I've watched it 4 times to make sure of this theory. Like MJF literally said, "I'm giving." It's like a contract for the biggest match, the main event singles match. Nothing he said was about the title, although yes, they've gone on within all the subsequent segments to kind of put over the title. In that one segment with the contracts, it wasn't mentioned. So I've kind of been stuck on that. Although I've loved everyone's other kind of spiraling things of Adam Cole turning, the Kingdom helping him, Roderick Strong possibly even being bought by MJF. I love it all. I can't decide, but I'll stick with my original theory. Yeah. NK, what's your thoughts?
I think Adam Cole wins, and maybe
walks out as champion.
Yes, I think I might have said this. Maybe a double turn. I don't know. I know Gav isn't fond of Adam Cole as a heel right now, but I don't know. I just think. But then, do you know what it is? Then you've got other threads, like the whole real world champion with CM Punk thing that makes me lead towards MJF. But I don't know. I just see Adam Cole having just a major moment and him walking, because I think Adam Cole isn't going to walk out a champion as a babyface. I think I wouldn't say that's certain, but I feel like if he walks out as champion, it's because he's firmly a heel. Whoever leaves that match as champion is the heel, in my opinion. So
yeah.
Gareth?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like Mekz said, there's so many different things, and there's so many like plausible, good ideas that go in all sorts of different ways. Like, will they be tag champions going into this? And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that, well, Adam Cole's not going to win, or there's not going to be a turn, because you could do that, but then they're bonded together with these titles in a way, and it's like hopefully a good version of can they coexist. Yeah, like it's so hard. I genuinely don't know. Like part of me wants MJF to win just because, like, I feel like there's potentially more interesting things. And like I want him to be champion when the bidding war of 2024 happens, which I'm fairly sure will be kayfabe, because like I don't think Tony Khan would have done all that without getting a contract extension out of him, whether that's an extra year or however long it is. But yeah. I don't know. So, like, I'm in like multiple minds as to what's going to happen moving forward. I think with the real world championship, I think I work so much better when it's MJF, because that's the match we're supposed to get a Full Gear. So that's kind of what I have in my mind for Full Gear. And hopefully Punk puts over MJF there. So that's for that reason I'm going to go with MJF, because I do think there's bigger things at play, and Cole will get his time. But at the same time, as soon as he returned, and it was evident he was going to be a babyface, because I was like 99% sure he would, but like there's that 1%, because the last thing we saw from him was decking the Elite. Anyway, he returned his babyface. I was like, right, that's probably something they're looking at for Wembley to win. And I wasn't a fan of it then, because I was like, he needs a longer story than that. So I'm hoping this is part of that. And also, I think there's potential for him to win it from someone like a Kenny Omega, which I think will mean more. But then this story, the way they've told it, would mean so much as well.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to call. But I am going to go with MJF just because I think that real world championship thing, which is the boring thing to say, is that, because there's other things set up. But that's just what's in my head. And given my honest opinion, I think that is what I predict. But yeah, and I still don't fully know what I want or what I think. But that's what I'm going to go with for now, and we'll just stick to it.
Yeah, for me, I don't even know if what I'm saying is what I want as well. But I just feel like, when MJF won the title, as fans, we just tend to see, okay, along the line, who's he going to lose it to, whatever the case is going to be. I couldn't see who that person was going to be until Adam Cole returned, and then obviously we can clearly see how highly favored Adam Cole is with TK as well. So I think I think Adam Cole will beat MJF for the title somewhere else down the line, but right now it's still MJF season. But yeah, we don't have to wait much longer, a couple more days, and we're going to see this match, which they have done a great job of building up and getting us invested for. But yeah, guys, we have been here for an absolute age. Appreciate anyone that's been online with us for all this time. Any last thoughts before we get into All In this weekend? Any last things you want to say?
Just going to enjoy the show. Yeah, it will be a good one. Anyone who's going, I'm sure will have a great time. Anyone watching at home, I'm sure will as well. But for us to get an event like this is really, really cool. So I think as much as there's been disappointments and stuff, it's just time to look forward and enjoy the show because everything's happened now and we've gave our criticisms. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, on the day. NK, anything?
Yeah, for sure. I thought I'm going to have a good time. It's going to be good just seeing, like I said, just seeing stars I watched on TV or stars I wouldn't think be on a stage this big. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for me. It's just like from what started as, you know, the celebration of indie wrestling in All In, obviously transpired into the entire company in AEW, and now we're kind of returning to that, you know, the biggest show by a quote unquote indie or non-WWE promotion. It's historic. You know, we're going to be in the building in attendance. Even if you're not in the building watching it, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So I'm really just hoping, and I don't mean this in a rude way or anything, but they don't have any production mess ups or anything like that. I hope the show goes, you know, brilliantly for them as well as possible. Anything that does happen, because these things do happen, isn't like a major talking point coming out of the show, because on paper a lot of it may not be what we wanted, but you know, like we're saying, it's going to be great on the night. So yeah.
One last thing I'd like to say is thanks for having me on. Obviously big up all you guys here on WRESTHINGS, the most entertaining, the funnest, just the best group of people on a podcast, a wrestling podcast. Just keep doing.
We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you coming through and being a long-term supporter of what we're trying to do here on WRESTHINGS channel. So, yeah, man. Before we go, do you wanna? We see them football kits in the back. You have to plug your channel and you know what you're doing on TikTok, man, because I think it's incredible. Personally.
Yeah, you can follow me at ENO _football. I make football content. It's just telling stories about football history, essentially. Yeah, it's all good. It's going all right. TikTok's always up and down, and it's like, it's in a bit of a down period.
Someone that's lost their first page, you're doing brilliantly, mate.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky that I built up a second one as I was going. But yeah, no, it was like it's good. It's good. And yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, you can find me there. ENO Football. Now you're frozen. He's frozen. So it's him. There's the House of Black. There they are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think my computer's had enough of us going on about AEW. So yeah, we'll call it here, guys. We will be doing a review show, of course, same time next week, or maybe we'll do the review show, you know, straight after the show. In terms of maybe a Monday or so, we'll speak amongst ourselves and see. But yeah, of course, we've got Dynamite next week, so Revolution Radio will be back then. Everyone that's going to the show, stay safe, enjoy the show. Everyone that's watching at home, have a blast as well. Gareth, like we say, thanks for coming. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.